All right, everybody, welcome in. This is Kyle Nash, the student of the game. No, I'm not Jeff Sharon or Eric Lopez, but I am here as the Black and Gold Banneret senior football analyst. And, of course, my work here with the Black and Gold Banneret.com and here on the Night Shift podcast powered by the Black and Gold Banneret here. But we have a treat unlike any other. Rob Stone of the Big Noon Kickoff pregame show is here. The man who has great juggling talents, trying to keep everybody in line in the crazy confines that can be that show. But listen, Rob, let me get off the ground with you this, and you know, I suppose I should apologize for the hurricane, but you've been in Florida enough to know that you got to plan to be flexible and dodge that. I mean, between you and Coach Meyer, you guys, you know about hurricanes. I get it.
We understand living along the Gulf of Mexico. I was born in Tampa, worked in Tampa, 2 stints after that. My parents are in Greater Sarasota. Urban's right there in Sarasota. Mark Ingram was in West Palm. Brady used to live down there. We get it. We understand what Florida is, and we understand what hurricane tracking is. And we're thoughtful and thinking about all those people in Northwest Florida right now, and the Georgias and whatnot that are going to get hit. And that's just part of living in this beautiful state of Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, let's go ahead and jump to this. Like, obviously, we talk about having expectations with hurricanes and things like that and planning to be flexible. But as far as your expectation, like, what are you expecting to engage when you're out there at Memory Mall, at UCF, out there on the stage there during that pregame show?
Yeah, this is honest. Like, absolutely cannot wait. And that's me speaking for me, and that's me speaking for our entire team, because we love to go to new venues. We love to spread our gospel. We love to get to places that, frankly, are softly underserved in the college football landscape. So much time, whether it's in the media or wherever else it is spent with the big boys, right? And everybody wants to talk about A, B, C, D, E, but they forget about the larger percentage of that pie graph that is all these other wonderful universities and these tremendous student athletes and these amazing institutions in these locations that people want to get to and are frankly just underserved. And, you know, UCF is an underserved football community. It's had pockets of great success. And you can tell it's kind of on the proper side of the growth curve right now. And it's good to give them some love and attention. You know, I may not be the best husband in the world, but even I realize every once in a while I need to go to my wife and tell her how pretty she is and pet her head and give her a card and some flowers and hugs and just do special dumb things that she really appreciates. And sometimes these college football programs out there that aren't named Ohio State or Alabama, you know, or Notre Dame need to be told how pretty they are and how beautiful they are and what great conversationalists they are and how funny they are and how happy you make me. So I think for us, that's part of spreading our gospel and also taking in the gospel that is college football, because it comes from all corners of our wonderful country. And it's not just in certain locations like a Columbus, a South Bend, a Tallahassee, a Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, and you mentioned that growth piece of it. Listen, both Colorado, both UCF, I can make an argument that the Big 12 Conference as a whole is a whole growth space, but I don't want to go that deep into it. The game's Colorado, UCF. Both these programs are growing quickly lately, more recently, obviously, with Coach Prime, Deion Sanders arriving in Colorado, going from 1 win to, what was it, a 3-game improvement is huge for any coach. And, you know, coming in here 3-1, I think the Nebraska game is one that people could argue that could have had or whatever. I don't know about any of that, but what I will say is these two squads being ascending as they are, what kind of extra buzz, like from your perspective, these storylines, how unique is that? Like you talked about, that having a lot of those blue bloods, seeing 2 ascending schools do battle. What is enticing about that? What interests you and draws you in about that?
Well, number one, it's, you know, programs on the rise, programs that we need to probably be spending a little more time on, or at least beginning our research pyramid. You know, like, let's get a good base of what UCF and Colorado is as they continue to get higher and higher. And, you know, that base for Colorado was built last year for sure. And it was built in the preseason. It was built through the campaign, and it continued through the preseason. So, you know, to Deion's credit, to Colorado's credit, you know, they're a 24/7 program. They're 365. Like, they're making news. There's buzz around them, whether it's good or bad, but there's something emanating from their program, seemingly almost on a daily basis. And that's good. You know, there's good news and there's bad news, but as long as you're having news, that makes you relevant. And what they're doing, and the fact that, frankly, they probably have, if it was the Heisman Trophy was being handed out this Saturday, I think they are going to be having the Heisman winner and what Travis Hunter has done. He's won the September Heisman Trophy, and what Deion brings and what they bring, oh, by the way, to the expanded Big 12, which is still a power conference. And there's only 4 of them left right now. And you could talk about the subtractions in the Big 12, and that's easy to do, but we're not here to talk about what was. We're talking about what is right now. And what is the Big 12 is a conference that is clearly on the rise. It is really strong from top to bottom. It's got interesting personalities, interesting storylines. And then it also has a program like UCF that, let's be honest, I don't think a whole lot of people talk that much about. But here they are, unbeaten, already 1-0 in conference play, and with a big, sexy name like Colorado coming into town. Guess what? There's going to be so many more eyeballs on what UCF is as a program and what their players are and what their campus is. And we come in and provide essentially a 2-hour commercial with Big Noon Kickoff and then another 3+ hours with Big Noon Saturday. This is an amazing window and opportunity for UCF as a whole, whether it's athletics, whether it's academics, their student body, their football program. This is a chance to start elevating themselves in a lot more people's eyes and for people to understand what UCF is. And also, hey guys, we're unbeaten. And if you beat a Colorado, that's going to register with a lot of people. And next thing you know, you're getting more and more votes in that top 25 poll. Maybe you're sneaking in there in the 25s, 24s, 23s. And now you're catching fire and you're catching eyeballs. So I see this Saturday as an amazing opportunity, not just to have fun if you're the student body, but to teach the world what UCF is. So I know there are administrators there who behind the scenes have done a lot of work to make us feel welcome and to encourage us to come to campus. And we're here to reciprocate that. So I think this is a massive weekend, a massive Saturday for UCF as a whole.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more on that particular front too. And I had listened to a bit of the Triple Option podcast that you do with Coach Meyer and Mark Ingram, former running back Heisman Trophy winner. The speech you did, it's so funny because I have my own podcast, A Student of the Game. I opened my show talking about Travis Hunter. I think it was the week before Joel Klatt, one of your associates, went on his Travis Hunter thing. And I felt compelled to do that so Klatt didn't look like a homer. Okay, I get it. Now you're on board. We are the swell is growing. And listen, as a big man, I was disappointed way back. This should age me a little bit, Rob, but I was disappointed when Ndamukong Suh wasn't even talked about. And we ended up with Sam Bradford, okay?
That's not that far ago. You're okay. You're all right.
Well, when you're working with interns at a site, they remind you how old you are. It's a
yes.
Thank you for dragging me
humbling those youngsters.
That's right. But with that particular case, Travis Hunter, the last receiver to win, Devontae Smith, Alabama, but it wasn't just on receiving; it's because he's awesome at special teams. Right. A lot of the Heisman's winners that were wide receivers were winners because of they were able to match with a special teams accolade. Travis Hunter is taking over 100 snaps a game on average. What was it, 145 this past week? And that's only the second most. Good gravy. If he stays healthy on volume alone, you got to think about it, right?
And nobody's mentioning the defense, which may be his greatest attribute. So when our friend Charles Woodson, who'll be joining us on the show Saturday, when he won the Heisman, he was a defensive back who I think Coach called it, what was it, a hood ornament was his special teams, right? A couple little returns here and there. That was just a few little splashes, a few little plays, and obviously you need to have a Heisman moment. But Travis is out there for the duration of the game and playing at an elite level. So he is your number one defensive back, right? He is your lockdown guy. Who Baylor, who's your number one receiver? UCF, who's your number one receiver? Say hello to Travis Hunter. And guess what? When Travis is a wide receiver, he's getting the number one attention. He's getting the opposition's best defense, and he's even sprinkling in some special teams in there. So, what he's doing right now is really special, but there's going to be a couple things that are going to go against him, potentially the win-loss record, right? At some point, Colorado has got to get themselves to a game above 500, I believe, for it to really be in consideration, and he has to remain healthy. What is the wear and tear? What is the grind on a player who is playing at an elite level on both sides of the ball, taking, Kyle, as you mentioned, all those snaps and all those plays that he's doing. So to Deion's credit, and again, Deion was a two-sport athlete. He understands the wear and tear and the grind. And, he played both ways on football to some extent when he was with FSU and in the NFL. He gives him Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday off. Like, just maybe come, maybe watch, but don't run, don't play. And I give Urban Meyer gave the Colorado staff a lot of credit, and it got me thinking, like, they're all in on managing Travis because it's what's best for business. What's best for that team right now is that he's out there as many snaps as possible. He was the guy, if you think about it, that decided the game last week in overtime. It was his, launching himself in a missile type formation to jar that ball through that was going to go in for a touchdown and push it to another overtime. He was the last man there, and he ended the game effectively because of his defense. It's moments like that that make you say, this is the dude that has won the Heisman for September. But guess what? The only person who hands out Heismans in September's is apparently our podcast, The Triple Option, because we did that the other day. It doesn't matter. You win the Heisman in November and you're awarded it in December. So we've got ourselves a long way to go. But right now, he is the most exciting player to watch in college football. And that alone, if you're just a resident of the greater Orlando area and your heart doesn't, bleed the colors of the Knights, that's fine. Just come anyways to see what this wonderful talent is, and a guy that you're clearly going to see at the next level very, very soon.
And let me quickly add on. Yeah, well, once he decides what spot he's playing at, right? So
why not do both at the next level? If I was an NFL coach, I'd be, hell yeah. If you're that good, right, and you'll figure it out in training camp, why not? Why you're already paying the cat millions upon millions of dollars, right? Let him get the snaps on both sides of the ball. Let him be a decoy, or let him be the deep threat, whatever it is. I mean, he's still in college right now. Let's enjoy him while he's healthy and playing. But if I'm at the next level, hell yeah, I'm letting him play both sides of the ball without hesitation.
No, I'm with you. Let's just put it this way. Hopefully it's a forward-thinking enough coach that takes it in. There's a lot of NFL guys set in their ways. But anyway, that's a separate conversation. We don't want this to take an hour. I know we would both have opinions on it. Let's just move on from that real quick. Quick ad, I will say, impressive thing about the fumble that you talk about, that's not a cornerback play. Like, you wouldn't see Deion do that in his Hall of Fame life, necessarily punching the ball out. Not that it's impossible.
Maybe not. Maybe not. I'm with you.
Yeah. I mean, that's reserved for the big.
That's the point. That the dude is on an elite level every single play. It's not like he's taking plays off. He's not like a Las Vegas Raider over there, doing what's best for his business and kind of lollygagging around the field on certain plays. This cat is going at it because he doesn't know how to. I mean, Deion and the staff have to sit him out. Like, you cannot practice Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Like, eyes are on him. Take his helmet away. Take his pad. Do not let this cat practice. Go sit in the ice bath. Go do whatever you want. Get a jump on your academics, but don't physically work yourself, because that's all he knows is how to play, at whatever it is, speed 10, throttle 10, energy level 10. He's an amazing specimen, and we're really fortunate to be able to witness him in his absolute collegiate prime.
Well, and why I went Heisman, you see, you brought up Heisman. I was going to go there anyway. I'll go full reveal on that, because I just recently forgive me for a tradition we do on this show, Rob, but I had an article talking about RJ Harvey as a Heisman candidate and what hurdles he would have to overcome on the blackandgoldbanneret.com. I did the site. I got to do the bell.
What's the bell? Is that like the subtle plug, the subtle?
Yeah.
I take care of myself. All right.
That's
good.
That's the cheap plug. That's the cheap plug thing. That's right. But with RJ
Hold
Harvey,
on. If I have a cheap plug, do you have a sound effect ready?
You can take.
Get ready. All I'm saying is I'm going to give myself 2 more cheap plugs at some point in this podcast. I need a proper sound effect. So while you're talking,
I'm at the helm. I got you. But with RJ Harvey, what I wrote about was obviously Travis Hunter as one of the obstacles, and the other was needing notoriety. They don't necessarily have an advantage of a Coach Prime that can lift things up. Coach Malzahn's awesome. Don't get it twisted. They have a love relationship, and it's all great. They love each other. They give each other props. There's respect there. One could even argue that Coach Prime stole the QR codes concept. I want to say borrow the QR codes on the back of the jerseys during the spring game from Coach Malzahn. That's kind of a buzz that happens here amongst Nike Nation in there too. But with RJ Harvey, you mentioned the ascension. Do you think as a running back, if the UCF gets to that place where they have that good record, and with what he has coming up on his record with the Florida, some of these other Big 12 schools, Utah, Arizona, that they can get enough lift to make him a candidate?
I think anybody can get enough lift. I'll be honest with you. I mean, we're talking about dating ourselves, Kyle, I'm blanking on the name, but the guy that was at Holy Cross, like in the 80s or something, that was a top 5 finalist for the Heisman Trophy. I'm completely blanking on his name, but it can happen, right? The thing is, Travis Hunter has a year head start, right? Because people have been talking about him all of last year and the things he's done. You need those Heisman moments, right? Or you at least need to take care of your stats, and you need to produce when eyeballs are on you. Eyeballs are going to be on RJ this weekend, right? So if Central Florida and RJ exceed expectations when there's going to be millions and millions of eyeballs on them, all of a sudden, boom, there's your first level boost, right? And the next thing is continuing it and getting more people like our show, like our competition, like other shows, to start talking and saying, hey, we're not talking enough about RJ Harvey. And there's a void out there. Ollie Gordon is not getting it done running the ball. This is your defending Doak Walker winner right now. And Oklahoma State is struggling with the ground game because everybody's trying to stop Ollie Gordon, and it's working right now. So Oklahoma State has to beat you through the air. So Ollie Gordon is not getting these opportunities. The numbers are not there right now, and he's basically wasted a whole month of Heisman propaganda time, right? And that's gone. Can you make it up on the backside? For sure. But if you're RJ, if you're UCF, if you're Gus, you're saying to yourself, look, we know we have to capitalize on these moments. And Urban Meyer and I were talking about it on our podcast, The Triple Option. Thank you. A couple weeks ago, where he knew when he had Heisman contenders on his roster, and maybe it was one of those early season kind of non-conference blowout games, he would look at the stats, he would figure things out, he'd look at the time. He's being respectful for the opposition, but he also knows, hey, I got to get my guy to X touches or X yards before I can gank him, right? And whether that was a running back, a wide receiver, a quarterback, I got to get my guy, I got to do him a service down the road when the Heisman conversation continues, and have him have a good day rather than benching him after the first quarter and his numbers are 43 yards rushing and 1 touchdown. Because people down the road are going to forget about what happened in early September. They're going to be like, yeah, but his numbers aren't that great. And you're going to go, they're not great because that early date in September where coach looked out for the well-being or the score line or whatever. So I found that really interesting that Urban said, with all due respect to the opposition, I had to get my guys to a certain number so they could be in contention, so that when they have those big games, i.e. this Saturday, UCF versus Colorado, that when your guy pops and when he does hit, the eyeballs are there, they're prepared, they're ready, and there's no place for them to go to find a negative check mark. They can say, oh yeah, through the course of every game this season, bing, 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 he's done it.
Yeah, no, I mean, something I like to say on my personal pod, the student of the game, is that style points.
Ding the bell. You're supposed to ding the bell, Kyle.
I'm too humble to bell myself, but since you asked, Rob, that's on me.
Oh.
But the thing I like to say is that style points do matter in college for just the reasons you mentioned, right? Those are all things too. Let me go back. I'll make it up to you right here. Now, going back quickly to the Triple Option podcast. I remember you asking about Coach Meyer in Michigan, if they could live and win the Big Ten being that one-dimensional. Yeah. Clearly, UCF would have to be asked that same question for the Big 12, right? I mean, and it's not just about RJ Harvey and that deep running back core, right? Penny Boone, Miles Montgomery, Johnny Richardson, all these cats that can move up there. And the offensive line, the way I know they're great is we're not talking about them the way we have the past 3 years around here at Night Nation. So there's that. But then KJ Jefferson, who himself is a juggernaut, has thrown one of the best blocks I've seen all season in the New Hampshire game. Just there's a lot of there to stop, but have they mixed in enough Kobe Hudson? I would ask that question. You asked that, Coach, I'd ask you, can UCF survive in a Big 12 that's known for explosive offense to be a Big 12 championship candidate?
It almost doesn't seem like the same question, which I know sounds odd, because if you are a run football team, like Michigan has not committed to that yet. I mean, if you look at the stats, you're saying clearly they're run dominated, but that's not who they are. They want to pass the ball, maybe not as much as they run it, but they have not said to themselves, like, we're going to be an Army or we're going to be a UCF and we're going to run it 55 times a game, right? They're kind of having to become that team because they're having issues with the passing game. And that's why I think there's this slight against them. And can they continue this? And also just the wear and tear of the Big Ten is just brutal. It's big bodies after big bodies and crushing blows. And, you know, dudes are going to be like lumbering in on Sunday into the locker rooms. You're going to have to say, whoa, I can't hit this week at practice. I got to take some rest. But if you're a UCF, I think that's kind of what your DNA has been from day one with this program. So I don't see it as a knock. I mean, clearly you can say, well, oh, RJ's gotten X amount of carries more than, you know, the next best performer. But guess what? They look at carries, but you know what they really care about is the yardage and the totals. And even if it's yards per carry, maybe to a lesser extent, but they want to see the century mark, right? They want to see 100s. They want to see 150s, 175s. That's what registers with these people who make these type of notes. Not everybody does the deep dive, maybe Kyle, like you or some of the people on our staff. A lot of the people that are Heisman voters or AP voters or whatever they are, they just kind of see some very basic numbers. And you need to hit those basic numbers to hit that populace, if you will, and get those votes and get that, get that reassurance out there that this guy is a next level talent. It should be considered for some of these awards.
One place where I will let my ego leak here, Rob, is that you validated a lot of points I made in my article on blackandgoldbanneret.com. So with all that,
that bell a lot, man. That bell is sore right now. That bell's got to go in an ice bath later.
But let me take it to this. I don't want to keep you too long here. Let's just jump right to, here's the thing, and I want to get your perspective on this because I have the opportunity here to ask somebody in the know. I'm still getting questions. My first year covering UCF was 2017, undefeated year. They beat, ironically, Coach Gus Malzahn in that Peach Bowl and all of that. And then the national championship banner through the Collie Matrix, all that happens. Now, I've purposely dodged the question of how I feel about it by saying, hey, listen, it's in the book. As a member of the media, I'm forced to acknowledge it. I'm not going to ask you how to feel about it in and of itself, but how essential of a step in your mind do you think that probably was in UCF's ascension to get to power conference play?
Well, yeah, I think it was absolutely mammoth. And number one, it registered in front of millions and millions of people's eyeballs that UCF has a program. I mean, let's be honest, when you're dealing with football in the state of Florida, there's a lot of letters thrown around and sometimes it can get lost. There's an FAMU, there's FAU, there's FIU, UCF, USF. Like it can become like an ugly alphabet sometimes. And you need to separate yourself. Like Florida State, as FSU, has separated themselves. Obviously they've got, generations and decades of a head start and, legendary names that they've been able to continue and roll through, not counting about this season right now. So I think that just elevated the fact that you have some history. Like you've got to have some history. Being a one-hit wonder, being Tommy Two-Tone doesn't really do it. I love that song. I want to dial that phone number every time I hear it, but that's it. There's nothing else that resonates. But if UCF can start adding to some of the accolades that it has earned in years past, then people will start saying, oh, this is a respected program, right? It's not a one-hit wonder. It is a program that continues to, whether it's develop NFL level talent, whether it continues to be in conference races, whether it continues to go after high recruits, whether it continues to get national exposure in front of national audiences, be it, like Fox this Saturday or whatever it is. I think it's important to have that basis, to have that, again, I go back to that bottom of the pyramid. UCF has that bottom of the pyramid. It wants to keep building and get it higher, but at least it's got a base. And let me tell you, there's hundreds of college football programs out there that wish they had a base. That wish they had something to build on. And UCF does. The problem now is you don't want the gaps to be so big between the noise-making seasons, right? You want it to be every year that you're in the conversation. And, if you look at the AP preseason top 25, I don't have it memorized, but I would argue that 18 to 20 of them are programs that are every year in the national discussion to some level, whether it's to win a conference or whether to win the national title. And every year, a couple, like a Liberty will sneak in there, or a Coastal Carolina will sneak in there. UCF and some of the other programs in the Big 12 have to get to that level where they're always in it. Utah is always in it right now, as of late, what Kyle Whittingham has developed. And because they're always in that conversation, recruits understand that, transfers understand that. If things aren't going well at one campus, why wouldn't I want to go to a program like a Utah that is always in that conversation? Colorado is getting there. They've got 2 years in a row where they are in that conversation. Win or losses, you can debate the significance of that for them, but they are in the conversation, and they are in front of eyeballs and in front of recruits and in front of that transfer portal. So they've got 2 years running. So I think there's more and more Big 12 programs that need to be there constantly. Baylor was awful, had that great run where they were there. They were top 5, top 10 conversation year in and year out, and then it dropped again. Dave Aranda has got a lot of work to get them back up into that eye-level perspective, if you will, for the national audience. So I think those are things that programs like UCF need to strive. They need to get themselves, above that, just that pool of a gazillion teams that are all kind of the same in forms of recognition and respect, and get out of that bubble and get to the next bubble where they are constantly given the proper attention and notification in the college football landscape.
Wonderful, man. Listen, we could go on about this. There's some good stuff here, and like just the change in college football. Real quick, something I want to share with you with Coach Malzahn. He had mentioned when he first got here, 21, I think it was, and then he said that college football is changing the next year. They get into the Big 12, and then that's when things really start blowing up. And then there's talk about the ACC and that issue, and then the Pac-12 goes away and all that. I asked Coach one press conference, he's like, "You said college football was changing. You didn't see this coming, did you?" He says, "No, nothing like this." So, but let me get you out of here with this. Tell me how you think the game's going to go. I'm not going to hold you to a prediction.
Yeah.
But what kind of football game are you?
I'm excited for UCF. I'm excited for what this opportunity is for them. I'm also excited for Colorado because they're on the cusp of kind of pushing through to that next barrier this season. If Colorado can get themselves the 4-1 and 2-0 in conference play, people are going to start giving them a little more credit, giving Dion a little bit more credit. You can also say they should definitely have lost to Baylor last week, right? Like Baylor and Dave Aranda are still kicking themselves down in Waco right now. But UCF is going to be saying, we're at 4-0 and we're at 2-0 and we're on top of the Big 12 conference with whoever else they might be. People need to start respecting us a little bit more. And we need to start, walking a little taller and sticking that chest out and beating the pecs a little bit more and becoming a respected program. So I think it's just such a wonderful Saturday opportunity for both of these programs, and the environment that hopefully we will help grow with that 2-hour pregame show out there a couple hours before kickoff. I think that is just going to be a huge bonus for UCF and for that staff. I don't think it's going to be a negative. I don't think they're going to be distracted by it. I think they're going to be able to feed off that crowd and what that energy is and the expectations. And listen, our show coming into town is going to pull in a lot of outside fans, if you will, some on the fence type fans. This is an opportunity to win them over and lock them in and, make them Knights for life.
Yeah, the opportunity is clear. And I'll put it this way. The best way to keep Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter from beating you offensively is to keep him off the field by dominating with the run. I'm with that.
Run that ball, baby. Run that ball, UCF.
An honor, joy, and privilege to have you aboard, Rob. Thank you so much, man. It was fantastic stuff. Listen, there's a reason I call myself the student of the game. I like to learn from experiences like these. But for everybody out there listening to both of us, great to have you. Until next time. You got anything else?
Kyle, hold on. You got to ding me out of here.
Yeah, well, go for it. Where can we find you, my man?
No. You have to ding me out of here.
Oh, okay. Class dismissed, Rob.